it for any occasion. So keep patting down waiting, comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
Happy anniversary, Dal.
Happy anniversary, Patrick Brower.
This is the 14th anniversary of Challengers.
It is.
As an open store. As of today, we are...
into our 15th year.
What time is it? 12... An hour and a half into our... Wait. Did we change time zones?
I don't think we did.
Are you sure? Is it 12:30?
Oh.
My watch is 12:30.
Oh, we did. So we're half an hour in.
Yeah, we're half an hour into the half an hour sales into a new day. To celebrate Challenger's 14th anniversary, Dal and I are running away from Chicago for the day.
Yeah, weirdly, I had the idea that what we should do for our 14th anniversary is not be in Chicago. Look, things have been, I don't want to say stressful, but there's been a lot of extra stresses on us at Challengers, largely due to AT&T, and literally a day where I cannot possibly interact with anyone for the business is my ideal way of celebrating 14 years of being in business.
Dal's idea of a stress-free day is making me drive 6 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least we're not that guy.
Yeah, that guy's broken down car on the side of the road.
Oof. So I did, knowing we were going to do a car episode, knowing that there's always going to be background noise and all that kind of stuff, I did a car test on Tuesday when I was getting the books, but I just did it using the phone. This time we're still using the mic that we use normally during the recording for the week, so hopefully it sounds better.
Hopefully.
The thing we want to mitigate the most is the exterior noise. It's raining now, so the wipers are going, and there's just a lot of wind rushing by, so hopefully that's filtered out and it sounds just like it's loud but not distracting.
Yeah, we'll see.
So I guess we'll jump right in with what Dal had just mentioned before. If you recall last episode, I had just worked one full day without the internet because there was an AT&T outage in our neighborhood. Well, that one day turned into two, which was super annoying because I got up that morning, checked the outage website, and it said, hey, it's resolved. So I had to move to the side because there was a large camper that was merging in our lane, so I had to get on the side for a second. That's why you heard that noise. I would have brought in, for one, my iPod to play music on because I'd be on the phone with AT&T all day, my AirPods to be able to listen to them, to be on the phone without having to worry about holding the phone to my ear, things like that. So I didn't bring those in, only to find out that, oh no, there's still a problem. And when I called AT&T, they're like, no, there is still an outage. Why does it say there isn't one? I don't know, but there's still an outage. Fine. So all day Saturday, no internet, but with Dal's suggestion, I dug through our box of old computer stuff and found a little square tap terminal, a little tap pad. Mm-hmm. What'd you call it? Tap pad?
Sure.
Tapas?
Sure.
We had some tapas. So I paired that to my phone, so I didn't literally have to plug in the dongle swiper for every card transaction, and people could just insert the card or tap the card.
Right.
There was one instance where somebody only had a swipe card, so I still had to pull that out. But anyway, that made life a little easier. But then we had, this giant white extension cord behind the counter.
Right.
That was in the way.
Yeah.
And then left it, that was it. As the end of the day, Saturday, still no internet.
Yeah.
So that was 2 days for me.
Yeah.
No phone.
Uh-huh. Because our internet provider is our phone provider, so when we have no internet, we also have no phone.
VoIP.
So Sunday was me getting into the store and pretty much immediately calling AT&T to find out what's going on.
Because still no internet.
Still no internet. And eventually ended up reaching a, advanced escalation specialist or whatever. Basically, somebody in the country who has access to a lot of different divisions from AT&T. So instead of what the big problem with calling AT&T for anything is that AT&T, whoever you're talking to, can only answer one part of a question. So if your question has multiple parts, they will tell you, I can't answer the other parts, I got to send you to somebody else. And then additionally, the new person you're sent to can only answer one part of the question. So if you got an answer from somebody else, you have to relay that to the new person because the new person can't see that answer at all. So you're not like slowly accumulating a full, complete solution. You are getting different solutions that you have to compile in your brain to try and troubleshoot this problem for AT&T. And that's what a lot of my Sunday was talking to different people and getting different stuff and finally reaching a point where they said there is a problem with the equipment at your location.
A hardware problem.
A hardware problem. There's like basically a box that's supposed to route a signal. That box is broken. We've switched a bunch of people who are on that box to a different box. We haven't switched you over yet. I don't know why we haven't switched you over yet. It can take some time to do that. What we're going to do instead is you have a fiber installation that's scheduled for this coming Friday. We're going to move it to Monday, tomorrow, so you'll have internet. You'll have internet, you'll have phone. It'll all get taken care of. I'm going to give you a PIN number, so if there's any problems, you call back on this number, you use this PIN, we'll be right on top of it. Great. The additional problem was it's a commercial installation for fiber, which has different kind of a scenario to it than a residential. Residential, they'll give you a range of times where someone's going to come by. We'll be by between 10 and 1 or between 1 and 4. With commercial, it can take a different amount of time. So the range is somewhere between 8:30 in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I went, well, we don't open until 11. Can this guy just call me ahead of time and at least let me know he's on his way? Yeah, he'll call half an hour ahead. Okay, half an hour ahead doesn't help me a whole lot if it's 2 hours before I wake up. So I got up early on Monday, which I'm glad because just as I was getting ready to be ready to leave, I got a phone call saying the guy's going to be there in half an hour.
I just want to jump in and point out that you don't get up at 10:30.
No.
That just in case people are listening thinking,
no.
What? Like, no. You're up way earlier than that on work days.
Sure, but I had to get up even earlier than that
right.
to accommodate this technician. Because I basically, once he called, I'm like, okay, I have to rush out of the house now.
Yeah.
So I got to the store at 9 in the morning, and he was already waiting outside. He was in his truck on the phone. I'm like, great, I'm going to go inside. I'm going to turn on the lights, open everything up. He comes inside to tell me that he cannot install fiber today because just like 2 months ago when we had a fiber installation scheduled, And
it was him back then.
Yeah, he can see the building, but AT&T thinks Unit 2R, which is our actual mailing address for Challengers Comics and Conversation, doesn't exist. They can't see that on their systems. That's a red light to them. That's not an actual place they can install anything. So even though he's there and we exist and we have an AT&T account, he can't install fiber off of that order. That order doesn't match what AT&T has in their system. So unfortunately, that order has to be canceled, and then they have to get the salesperson, who's not him, to write up a new order with the address that matches what AT&T has in their system. So they're trying to get a hold of that salesperson. They eventually, not the guy who's there, but like somebody else farther away, gets a hold of the salesperson and conveys to the technician to convey to me that they're just going to turn the copper, the DSL that we had, back on. And I went, you're going to turn it back on? We were told it was a equipment failure, that they couldn't turn it back on. That's why this is happening.
First we were told it was an outage in the area. Mm-hmm. Then we were told it was an equipment failure. Didn't at one point they tell you it was a software issue as well?
Yeah, which I mean, I guess is the switching over. Like they need to get an engineer to switch it over to the new box.
So now they're telling you that the service was turned off.
Yeah, that it was turned off. I'm like, yes, please turn it back on. I don't need fiber that quickly. I need working internet and phone. Like, please turn it back on. So then the technician ends up leaving because there's nothing he can do at that point. I'm on the phone with not our salesperson, but apparently a different salesperson, because I was told it was a man who would our salesperson, but then I'm talking to a woman at AT&T, and gross.
Yep.
The
was a big old pile of roadkill.
Big old pile of roadkill on US 31. So I had to spend an hour and a half talking to different departments of AT&T because, again, whoever you're talking to can't help you. They have to transfer you to someone else, and that person also can't help you. to find out, no, there is an equipment problem. Your internet can't just be turned back on. But they're going to get a different technician to come out. They're going to expedite that. We actually did get a technician to come out Monday at like 4 o'clock, hooked up the internet, found out that he was actually hooking up fiber, so we even got the fiber on Monday that we weren't expecting, which was great.
How does a technician who's coming out to hook something up not even know they're hooking up fiber?
Well, I think he knew we didn't.
Okay.
Like, they didn't convey it to us. They just said
They didn't convey anything to us.
Yeah, we're going to get a guy out there to turn your internet on. Great. Okay, he's actually installing fiber. Fine. It gets the phone line hooked up. He makes some calls on it. Perfect. We're done. Molly, Jane, and I both leave the store a little after 5. We have to stay a little bit late to get some stuff done that we couldn't get done the last couple days because when our internet was down, our printer was basically down as well. And there's things that we couldn't do from the iPad that we needed a computer to do, and the computer didn't have an internet connection. So anyway, stay a little late, get that stuff done. I'm walking home. I get a text from Molly Jane saying she had just tried calling the store. She gets a call can't be completed as dialed message. Okay, great. Well, maybe it takes some time to get that warmed up. You know, like they just turned it on. Maybe that's going to take a little bit. You know, sometimes stuff takes a little bit with AT&T.
Also, heads up play on her part to double check.
Yeah, I would have never thought to do it because he called out. So it's like, okay, the phone line works. Great, we're done.
Yeah.
So the next morning, I try calling the store. Same thing. Call can't be completed as dialed. So I have a thought, and I'm like, I think I know what's going on. I get to the store. I get on the store phone. I call my cell phone and see, yeah, the store phone number is different. It's not 773-278-0155 like it's been for the last 14 years. It's a completely different number. It's a different 773 number. So I went, okay, great. So then
like 779-8059.
Yeah, I don't even remember what it was. But it was incorrect. So that's why the technician could call out. It's a working number, and you could call that number, and it would ring. But if you called the actual Challenger's number that's on our website, on the side of our building, on our business cards, in our email.
The number we've had now for literally 14 years.
14 years. Doesn't work. So I'm on the phone with AT&T on my cell phone, basically saying, like, why don't we have a working number? And the technician from the other day is like, I don't know why they did that. Here's a thing you should tell them. And he gives me, like, a couple jargon words to use to say, like, this is the way that it'll fix it with the least hassle for you. Okay, great. So I call the helpline, and the helpline immediately says, you don't need to talk to us. You need to talk to business phone and internet. This is consumer phone and internet. Okay, great, thanks. So transfer me to business. I explain what's going on.
While you hear them cover the phone and laugh and say, I told them to call business.
Hilarious. So I eventually talk to a technician, and they're going to get switched over, and they're giving us the old number back. Great, thanks, appreciate it. It's going to take about 15 minutes. Do you want to hang on the line while we wait to see if it works? Absolutely, because I don't want to have to call back and try and like go through all this again. I've been doing that all day, and I've been doing that for the last 3 days. Waits 15 minutes, gets back to me. Yeah, we're still not seeing it. It's going to be like 10 more minutes. Okay, I'll wait. 10 more minutes go by. We're not seeing it yet. It's probably going to be another 15 or 20 minutes. All right, I'm going to let you go. I'll please just like keep me updated and give me a call if there's any problems. So sure enough, we wait like 5 hours. Phone number never switches over. I'm texting the saleswoman that we talked to the other day to say, hey, we still don't have a working number. What's going on? She's going to look into it. This morning, I get a message from the installer from Monday saying that he has 2 work orders for our phone. He doesn't know what's going on. I call him back. I'm like, I don't know why we have any. The only problem we have is that we don't have a working phone number, and that was like a software issue, we thought. Okay, he's going to come by the first half hour the store's open to get the phone number issue fixed. He's going to take care of it.
Which should have been now, actually.
But we're in a car, and I haven't bothered calling anyone to find out whether or not it works.
Sure.
So that's been the last almost week now of AT&T problems.
You glossed over the fact of how this happened in the first place.
So we don't have a firm answer on this, but I asked the technician on Monday, why is this happening?
Because it's not an outage.
Yeah.
And it's not a hardware problem.
Because, again, you talked to people on Saturday, and they said, and I talked to people on Sunday who said, we see there's tickets about an outage. Tickets say resolved. So we're not sure why you're still seeing a problem. And then as the call would go on, they would find out a reason why the outage was fixed, but we still don't have phone and internet. But he basically said, without knowing for certain, but what he thinks is happening, because he's been seeing this happen a lot lately, is that what's supposed to happen when you're switching a customer over from copper, which is, DSL and a regular phone line, to fiber, is there's basically a button the technician pushes that turns off the copper. It turns off the service for DSL and phone, so the installer can turn on the fiber. What he's been seeing a lot lately, and what other technicians have been seeing a lot lately, is someone at AT&T is switching these things off in advance of the technician coming out. So technicians go out to installations to find angry customers saying, "Thank God you're here. I haven't had phone or internet in a number of days." He thinks that's probably what it was that because we were supposed to originally have an installation Thursday night, they switched us off Thursday night, even though the installer never found us and didn't do the installation. So everything we've been hearing since then has probably been bullshit from AT&T, covering for the fact that they switched it off and they couldn't switch it back on. Or they wouldn't switch it back on. I don't know. But that's not certain. That's just what the installer thinks happened because he's seen it happen before. Regardless, we do have internet again, which is great. So all of the things that we run in the store, like our security cameras, like our new release boards, like our credit card transactions, could all be run again without too much hassle. We just don't have a phone yet. Hopefully that'll be a thing that got fixed today. That would be a very nice anniversary gift. Is a working phone, a working phone number with a working phone number that people can find on our business cards and on the side of our building and in our emails.
Yeah, it's interesting to find out that all of it is unresolved. We don't know what caused it, and nobody had any idea. And I will say that every technician I dealt with on the phone was very nice. They just wanted to be bad at their jobs. Yeah,
or, again, this is the big problem of AT&T, is it's so many little...
Did you see those signs for this place right here? McClure's?
McClure's.
It was wine.
Uh-huh.
I already forgot the second one.
Okay.
And then Santa.
Yeah. Well, Santa likes wine. It's hard to be Santa Claus.
Anyone knows McClure's, it's exactly where we are in Indiana right now.
Yeah. The AT&T problem is that no one can know anything or do anything. When the fiber guy came out Monday morning and said that he couldn't do an installation, he also told me he couldn't look at the copper because that's not his department. Like, even though he's trained on that stuff, he can't do that. He can only do fiber now. That's his remit. And it's like, that's everyone you talk to is, again, you call the helpline to find out what's going on with your UVerse. Oh, this is consumer UVerse? You need business UVerse. Just tell me what's going on with my account. And then you talk to someone else, and that other person has to get like 3 other people involved, and their people have to get their managers involved. And it's just like, nothing is easy. There's no one person that can help you at AT&T. They're constantly transferring you to other people and constantly needing to double check something. And they can't see part of your account on their computer. Yeah, it's terrible. AT&T is absolutely awful. Again,
yet we're sticking with them.
Well, there was a point where it was like, if they're telling me no today, then we're going with Xfinity. We're going back to Xfinity, who we left because we hated them. But they managed to get the fiber up and running, and I thought got the phone up and running. So it was like, well, we don't have to leave now. And then we found out that we don't have the phone for 3 more days.
Yeah. On the one hand, the fiber is very nice.
It's very fast.
On another hand, there's 3 hands in this analogy.
So many
analogy,
hands.
Story, whatever. What is this? Soliloquy? I don't know. Thing that I'm saying.
Yep.
On the other hand, we haven't had phone in 6 days, which is kind of what I was looking for before.
It is, but man.
But no, I was looking for the lack of the stoppage of spam calls and the lack of easy to answer questions. But what I still want is a connection,
right? Where
people would at least get something saying, "Hey, this is Challengers."
Yeah.
We've had distributors start messaging saying, "Hey, what's going on with the store? We need to talk to you about something. We can't get a hold of you."
Yeah.
We have deliveries that can't, like they were calling to schedule delivery, can't get through.
Right.
So, here we are celebrating 14 years, and there may be people who've been trying to call thinking, oh, they're out of business.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing I tried to convey to AT&T was that there's business I've lost I will never get back. Because there's people who called during this week-long period that just assume that we went out of business. And they're never going to investigate it. Why would they? If I was calling comic shops and I've never been to the store before, and I called them and I got your call can't be completed as dialed, I would never call them again. I wouldn't think, well, they're probably having a weird outage. I'll try again in a week, 10 days.
Yeah.
No, especially if I called the next day and I got the same thing. And I called the next day and I got the same thing. Like, yeah, no, that forever. So, yeah, it really sucks. It's kind of a bad situation. And it sucks that it is still ongoing.
Yep.
But that's a good reason to get out of town. Is because it's like, I can't do anything about it. For the 4 days this week I worked at Challengers, I was on the phone with AT&T every single day. Sometimes for hours at a time. I don't want to do that. Like, that's work I couldn't get done. That's people I couldn't help. That's a huge waste of my time to basically hound AT&T to fix a problem that they are aware of that they're just not fixing. I shouldn't have to call them every single day to say we still don't have internet or we still don't have phone. Yeah, total bummer. Good way to round out year 14.
For the benefit of doing this live, do you want to pull out your phone now and call the store and see what happens?
Yeah, sure, let's do it.
Just to see if anything has changed, if anything is different.
I'm going to put this on the speakerphone too.
Okay.
Here's all the times I've called the store recently.
Do you need the number?
No.
Your call cannot be completed at this time. Please try again later. En este momento no se puede realizar.
So there we go.
Yeah,
That's not that going.
11:51. They said they were going to get there, what, at 11?
Oh, between 11 and 11:30.
Yeah, to fix the phone.
Yep.
And still no phone.
Nope, still no phone.
Wow.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's
Man.
great. It's good times.
So that's 20 miles to Kokomo.
Yep.
We're almost there.
Yep.
We're doing this podcast in segments because I need the GPS on my phone.
Yes.
And I can't.
I have it on my phone.
Yeah, I know, but it's I know that we're on this road for a little bit longer.
Sure.
Before we move. A few other brief things I want to mention because I remember those from the whiteboard, which is full of topics and we're not
very far away. Yeah.
2 episodes ago, we talked about not knowing what we were going to do for Free Comic Book Day and how the setup's going to go. And we actually resolved it last week, but forgot to talk about it.
Yeah.
And all it took was literally standing in the room for like 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh yeah, no, we know exactly how it's going to go. And it's going to be easier setup than last year's.
Yeah, I mean, we know what we're doing for the comics. I think we're still kind of a little bit question marky on the talent.
No, that's all set in stone.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, so we got Mike Norton coming right at 10.
No, I mean, like, how we're going to set them up.
No, we know that.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
The drama bookshelves are all going to go in front of the back issues.
Okay.
And they're going to be the 3 tables right there.
Okay.
I mean, that's the standard.
Sure.
That's what we, like, last year we did that, but that had the half-off books there, and it was easier to...
Sure.
Yeah, so we will sacrifice back issues for the day, but...
I'm fine doing that.
Yeah.
I'm always fine doing that.
That's the section we're happy to get rid of. And for the first Free Comic Book Day in a while, the all-ages graphic novels will not be the things being sacrificed in front of the back issue. Well,
no.
Back issue sacrificed, but they would...
Right.
Like, because usually lines block those anyway.
Yeah.
So it is... it's better off that they're not there.
Sure.
And I like that. That's a better way to do it. So yeah, literally it just took being in that room for like a minute for like, oh no, this is how it's going to go.
Yeah.
That's why trying to decide in our heads was, I mean, that's how everything starts. We think about it, but then being in the space is what makes it wide open.
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten a few people who've written in recently who have said, oh no, I did this thing. Please don't out me on the podcast. As if us talking about someone specifically is a form of punishment or like calling out a thing. Like when we say, like, we don't ever say names.
Right.
But if we say, yeah, this person was in and did this, apparently if the people who did it are listening, they feel really bad.
Okay.
So I've had...
I'm all right with that.
I've had 2 people recently do things where they literally wrote through Patreon and said, hey, I was the one that did this. Please don't out me on the podcast. And one of them, both of them, they didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
At this point, and I'm still going to talk about it, so there.
Sure.
At this point, masks are optional in the store. We're still wearing them. Mm-hmm. And there's a sign on the door that says they're suggested,
right,
but it's not necessary. But we had somebody come in without a mask, realized they didn't have it, ran back to their car and got it, came back in and apologized. And we said, you're totally fine. You didn't even have to go get it, but we appreciate you getting it.
Right.
And then they still emailed to say, I forgot my mask. Please don't talk about me on the podcast.
Too late.
Right. And that was weeks ago.
Sure.
But I mean, you went back to your car and got it and apologized, and you didn't even need to do that much.
Yeah.
So you have nothing to worry about. We would not talk about that as a, can you believe someone did this? It was a positive interaction as far as I'm concerned.
A lot of people suffering from guilt out there in the world. I don't get it.
Yeah, right? Well, it's because it doesn't affect you.
I don't feel it. It's true.
And then we had somebody leave us a positive review on the Googles before we talked about all the weird reviews. Mm-hmm. And they left a positive and also funny review that referenced something else we talked about on the podcast.
Nice.
And then they're like, I left a review. Don't talk about me on the pod. Like, no, you did a good review. You are not somebody. We had somebody whose name I cannot remember, and I would have said it if I remembered, who wrote in to say that one of the stores we described in a Google review is, now I forgot, was it Midtown? Forbidden Planet in New York, with the Captain America door handles, which I would like to steal from someone.
Sure.
And the Rocket Raccoon. Mm-hmm. So, the people that were worried about us talking about them, the things that you were worried about are good things, so we're not worried about it.
Sure.
So, don't worry about it.
Good work.
So, at this point, we are close enough to where I'm going to need the map again, so we're going to end this half of the podcast and come back to it on the way home. Support for Contest of Challengers is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer: 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code CHALLENGERS at manscaped.com. We're happy to have Manscaped as a sponsor because we already used these products before they even approached us.
Yep. We use the products, we enjoy the products, and we were happy to let people know that Manscaped is something that they should have in their lives and that they can also get a pretty good savings on. Manscaped includes waterproof trimmers. It reduces foot odor. The Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer helps reduce nicks. It reduces the risk of ingrown hairs and reduces the risk of grooming accidents, which, pretty big thing. Reducing grooming accidents, I'd maybe put at the top of that list.
Yeah, right? Let's have
I
that.
would not save that for last. That's kind of a key component of the whole Manscaped deal. And speaking of Manscaped deal, 20% off if you use the discount code CHALLENGERS with an S at manscaped.com.
Well, we are on the road home, and we had quite the interesting day.
Yeah. More interesting than I wanted.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
for sure.
The Kokomo stuff was all great.
Yeah, very fun.
But whilst we were gone...
And if you remember, cast your mind back maybe 20 minutes in this podcast. So we were talking about the idea that we wanted to leave town for Challenger's 14th anniversary, specifically to sort of get away from a lot of the tension and the stress of the last week's worth of AT&T problems. So it was like, let's just be a place where we can't possibly interact with that.
That didn't work.
It didn't happen, unfortunately. God bless Molly Jane, who was dealing with the on-the-ground problems for AT&T today.
Running the ship, as it were. Guiding the ship. Her and Stella today.
Yep.
And Molly did great, but, AT&T had to show up.
Yeah.
They had to redo everything they did Monday.
The problems swelled beyond a Molly Jane problem, as much as I wanted to make it just a Molly Jane problem today.
That is a Dow catchphrase in the store, and I think we said it on the podcast before.
I texted it to her today.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, AT&T's going to be coming by. Please make sure this gets fixed. We're depending on you. This is a Molly Jane problem.
Yeah. The quote, the exact quote is, that sounds like a Molly Jane problem.
Yep.
Also, it's funny that you texted her, because I texted her to say that tech was on the way.
Yeah.
Because I told you before, I'm like, did you talk to Molly Jane? And you said, no, she'll figure it out. So then I texted her, and then you did too.
Yeah. But I texted her like half an hour before the store opened, because she doesn't need to do anything special.
Oh, okay.
It was just a heads up of like, hey, this guy's going to be coming by.
I texted her when we got the actual, now he's on his way.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, when we got, did you also, like, when we stopped for gas? Because I got a notification when we stopped for gas of them saying, hey, he's literally 8 minutes away.
I don't remember 8 minutes away.
Okay, because it was basically like, he had called and said between 11 and 11:30. By like 12:30, he still hadn't shown up yet. Oh no, it was by like 12:05. So I was texting with Molly Jane, and it was 12:15 when we finished texting, and I went, okay, if he doesn't show up by 12:30, his card is in the little card
box
thing.
of cards.
Give him a call, find out what's going on. And then like 5 minutes later, I got an automated text from AT&T saying, like basically like DoorDash, your tech is on the way, you can track his progress here. And sure enough, like he was 8 minutes out. So I texted her to say, hey, he's going to be there in like 10 minutes. And yeah, by all accounts, everything's resolved. Fingers crossed.
I actually called the store, and Molly Jane answered whilst we were at lunch.
The actual Challengers phone number works now to call Challengers, so that's great.
It's amazing.
Supposedly the internet is up. We were told by Molly Jane that the tech had basically just redone the job he did yesterday, more or less, or he replaced the equipment or something. Yeah, Monday. And in doing so, like, that should mean that all of the wireless stuff was reset, but according to her, it's the same as it was, so I don't know what happened. But we'll need to go to the store and check it just to make sure. But
make sure all the devices connect properly for charging.
Yeah, I mean, she said they had, so that's good. But yeah, we're going to double check just to make sure. But it sounds like everything got fixed today. It got fixed in a way where we needed to participate in the process more than we anticipated.
Yeah, it was a lot of texting.
Yeah.
And on top of that,
one more thing.
This is a very regular thing at Challengers because it's been raining, a little bit of rain for a while. Mm-hmm. And I say a little bit of rain. I say a little bit of rain, but we've been seeing, like, in the suburbs of Chicago have been a lot of, like, overflows and a lot of extra water places.
Well, and Tuesday and Wednesday were rainy pretty much for like 24 hours straight, and a lot of rain.
So one of my hand-installed gutters started to leak. The one over by the supplies, by the long and short boxes. They noticed that this morning, so they moved everything out of the way, and when they were looking into it, the gutter is extremely full because, as Dal pointed out when we were talking earlier, gutters are made to transport water, not contain it. And because of the way they are adhered to the windows and the window frames, they're not meant to hold a lot of weight. So it's pulling things in different directions, and there's foam caps on the end of each gutter that clip in that prevent the water from coming out. Well, they're not made to, they're like a pot. They're made to hold water. You get to a certain point and the pot will overflow. You get to a certain point in the gutter and the seal around the edges isn't as tight because it never expects to have water that high.
Right.
So on the one hand, the gutters are doing a great job
of collecting all that water. The downside is Challengers is not doing as good of a job as at checking how much water is in them. The routine maintenance.
Yeah, so, I mean, when I was talking to people about installing the gutters, a lot of people had said, what are you going to do with the water? And my point was, it should never be the point where it's that full. Like, it should be just shallow enough that it evaporates regularly.
Yeah, when we would leave, like, a bucket or something underneath a drip in the ceiling prior to putting the gutters up, you'd get maybe, like an inch of water.
Yeah. And while an inch in a gutter is a lot, this is a lot more than an inch.
Well, and the thing was, like, an inch in the bucket, you spread that out to an entire gutter, and it's even less. You're talking about, like, a quarter of an inch of water, and that'll just evaporate. Because it's not going to rain constantly. It's going to rain hard, and then not hard for the next few days. But yeah, it turns out that back window is really collecting a ton of water. And we need to start, maybe on a monthly basis, cleaning that out.
Yeah, and we need to devise a better system. I had joked about, because the guttering company, the system that I was using, they have downspouts and they have small downspouts and things. And I'm like, we could actually put downspouts on these, but that would look real shitty. And who wants to be the one emptying those and whatnot? Right. Or more than that, where does the water go?
Right.
When it comes down the spout, where does it go? We have to have somewhere for it to collect. Maybe that one window, because that seems to get a lot of action. Because
we could probably run something to the left of the supplies and then have it terminate into like a little cup or something. Yeah. And then just, weekly or
something we can reach without having a ladder.
Yeah, like a few times a week when we're vacuuming, because you plug in the vacuum back there, check the cup.
Yeah.
If the cup seems like it's full, dump it out. Or just generally just dump it out when you're doing vacuums.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doing vacuums.
So that was a lot
of... It's a very Dan McBride way of saying it.
Yeah, okay, I'll take your word for that. So it was a lot of texting and sending videos, and we're, not on Wi-Fi because we're in the middle of Indiana and we're in stores.
Yeah, and
so it's taken forever for those to download, and the one time I'm waiting, and it's just a GIF.
It's just a celebratory GIF, and it's like, I'm not in a city.
Yeah.
I'm not in a city with good wireless.
This trip has taken my phone down to like 30% of battery power because of the navigation and then all this recording.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Yeah.
So, we were charging it, but we stopped to record.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get through this recording, I think.
Yeah, we should be able to. It's fine.
So Patrick...
It's pretty good.
Pretty good. Patrick, what were we doing in Kokomo?
We went to Kokomo Toys like we did on an episode of Contest Challengers years ago.
We went back to Kokomo Toys.
Back to Kokomo Toys to conquer. No, they conquered our wallets. The fun thing about Kokomo Toys is it's a giant toy store, and it's new toys, and it's used toys, and it's stuff you would never think existed or didn't know was there or never knew you wanted.
Yeah.
So the best way to attack Kokomo Toys is to have no plan or no want list.
Yeah, just be open to it, you go there and whatever you're a fan of, they're going to have something for it. Like, I do not normally, I'm not a vintage toy guy.
Right.
So a lot of what a thing like Kokomo Toys would be for would be alternately, vintage people who are like, I want that thing that I had when I was a kid or never had when I was a kid, and they're going to have that. Or people who are like, I want brand new toys, and they're going to have that, but I don't do either one of those. Like, new toys, I pre-order the stuff I want. And vintage...
Kokomo Toys is not going to have a new toy that you did not know existed.
Yeah, they did have a lot of recent toys, for sure.
Yeah.
And stuff we've just gotten in recently or whatever.
When I say you didn't know existed, I mean you personally.
Right. Although, I was poking around. But, so I the things I collect...
We're on this strange little back road. It's a one-lane highway.
Yeah, Google Maps is sending us in a weird route.
Right through all sorts of different cornfields and things. And all of a sudden, there's always here's a bunch of utility trucks blocking the road.
Yeah.
What is this? Does it say? No logos. Barry. It said Barry on the side.
Yeah, they're an IT company.
Yeah, so, we'll tell you about this a little bit later, but we're coming out of Kokomo a whole different way than we came in for reasons. But yeah, this is it feels so. It's such a weird and rural area.
Yeah, we're not on a highway.
That I made Dal double check the navigation to make sure we were actually going back to Chicago
instead of further east.
Yeah.
We had briefly investigated, what other comic shops are out here? And I had thought, from reading Knights at the Dinner Table for the longest time, Kokomo's near Muncie, I think. And Oh Yeah Comics has a shop in Muncie. So we're like, let's look that up. Muncie is an hour east of Kokomo, which is the exact wrong direction for people who are heading back to Chicago.
I was looking at the map backwards. I'm like, it's on the way. Nope, other direction.
Nope, 1 hour east.
So then I was afraid that I'd actually hit navigate to that. But no, we're heading back to Chicago.
Yep, just the weirdest route.
Very different way.
Yeah, for whatever reason, the navigation app was like, take this scenic route.
Yeah,
and scenic is kind of in quotes.
Not at all the way we came to the town.
A lot of farmland.
Anyway, we're in Kokomo Toys.
Yeah, and so for me, the things I collect, it's Transformers and it's Kamen Rider stuff. But Transformers, I've been collecting for 11 11 years now, and I actually had gotten rid of a bunch of stuff that I was just keeping in storage because I've run out of display space. So I wasn't really looking for like older Transformers stuff because I'd sold most of it. I'm happy with what I've got now, and I'm not really looking to fill in those voids in my collection again. And new stuff, I'm pretty much up to date. They had a couple things that we haven't gotten in yet, but it's nothing I'm anxiously awaiting. It's mostly like retools and repaints that, like, when we get them in, fine. If we don't get them in, I'm okay with that. It's not a big deal. Kamen Rider stuff is not the sort of stuff that Kokomo Toys would necessarily carry. They're a lot more like American toy lines from the last 45 years. So overseas toys, they have a huge selection of Dragon Ball Z stuff, but that's kind of it. Like they have some fig arts in like a display case as like more vintagey stuff, and it's just like a Cowboy Bebop figure and like a White Ranger fig art figure and stuff like that. So I wasn't really expecting to find anything. Patrick, what were you open for?
I was expecting for nothing.
Yeah.
Before I forget this little anecdote, I overheard somebody at the counter, a customer, pitching Rotofugi to one of the people that worked there. It's like, you ever been to Rotofugi in Chicago? And they're like, no, I haven't heard of it. And so they're like, oh, it's one of my favorite places to go in Chicago. It's so great. And I don't know that Rotofugi is really the kind of toy store that the Kokomo toy people would like.
Well, Kokomo Toys does carry vinyl figures.
Yeah, some, yes.
Blind box mostly, but they did have, and that's the thing about Kokomo Toys, is that they honestly do have something for everything you can imagine.
So I remember from our last trip that Kokomo Toys has a lot of pop vinyls.
Yes, that's what I bought last time.
And then while I bought a flocked goose
from Saga.
Pop.
I bought a couple Gwenpool pops because I don't think you had I think got me one from like Toys R Us.
Yeah, Toys R Us or Walgreens.
When Toys R Us was still around, but there were even more that I hadn't known about. So I'm like, oh, and they're $8 each. So I'm like, I'll get 2 of these, sure.
Yeah.
And I think Transformer stuff at the time I was filling in voids in my collection, but while they have a ton of stuff, they didn't have the exact things I was looking for.
Sure. Yeah. That was last time.
Right, and like Patrick was saying, that's kind of the key is like, don't go in with like a want list necessarily because you might not find that thing and you might be disappointed. But if you go in just like, let's see what Marvel Legends they have, you'll find something.
Yeah, I mean they have a ton of new Marvel Legends, old Marvel Legends, and used Marvel Legends, bagged Marvel Legends. Which
is what I was looking for. It's weird because for a lot of the stuff that I get, like Transformers and stuff, I'm not crazy about getting used ones. I want them in the package. I want that experience. But like the fig arts that I get for Kamen Rider from Japanese toy stores, they come in the box and everything, but they're pre-owned. They're in great condition, but somebody owned them before, and I don't care because it's way cheaper, and I don't want to pay sealed prices for something I'm going to open up, put on display, and then hide the box away.
Sure.
But I didn't have a specific one in mind, but I wanted some Marvel Legends figures because I have a very small selection of like Dal-specific Marvel Legends figures where I'm not getting like line-wide and I'm not collecting them necessarily, but like I've got Yelena Belova from the Black Widow movie. I've got the Silver Centurion Iron Man. I have the House of X Wolverine, and I have the terrible Scott McDaniel 90s Daredevil armored costume.
Yep.
Like those are like the 4 that I have right now, and I'll get a Quasar if I ever find a Quasar.
Yeah. Spoiler alert: they did not have a Quasar.
No, I didn't even think to look for it. Honestly, did you? Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah. So back to what I was looking for was just anything. Like the only wrestling figures I buy are AEW figures, and I pre-order all of those from Ringside Collectibles. Yeah. So I mean, if I found a good, because they've done a lot of like.
You don't do duplicates.
I do duplicates, but if I found a fun duplicate of somebody that I already have, I might have gotten like a different Mox or something.
Right, because they've updated their Moxes.
Yeah, they had a Thronebreaker Cody, but he gone.
Oh, yeah, it's
gone.
True.
So
you don't collect WWE figures.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But like we walk in, like 2 feet in, I come across a series of, I forget who owns the license to these now, but the people that do
Defenders of the Earth.
Defenders of the Earth. Yeah, your Phantom, your.
I don't know who has that. It's weird.
Flash Gordon. Your
Jazzwares or something.
Ming the Merciless. Is that one of them?
Ming the Merciless was their villain. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mandrake
I found
the Magician.
Mandrake, yeah, exactly. So I believe we've ordered those for the store, but have never gotten them.
Sure.
So they had two different versions of the Phantom, and the Phantom was my dad was a big fan of the Phantom when he was a kid. So I've always loved the Phantom. I used to write letters to the Mark Evanier, Luke McDaniel, DC Comics Phantom series.
Wow.
I wrote a letter every issue.
Wow.
Mostly I would write them whilst I was at a laundromat when I was in college.
Sure. That's a good place to write letters.
And my letters were printed in most of the issues of the
Wow.
Phantom. Yep.
If anyone's got copies of the old Mark Evanier, Luke McDonald Phantom comics, bring them in and Patrick will sign them for you.
Sure. So I picked the classic 80th anniversary Phantom figure. So I have that immediately. On the other side of the aisle, Dal points out, he's like, hey, there's Kiss Dressed to Kill figures. And I heard him say it, and I'm like, I don't care. But then after we...
Thank you for not saying that out loud at the time.
Then we split up, and I see them like, oh, they're in the Dressed to Kill outfits when they were in New York for the photo shoot in all suits, just with their makeup.
What did you think I meant?
No, I mean, I knew it, but I didn't realize they were Migos.
Sure, okay.
They were Migo-esque. They're
you thought it was like McFarlane figures
or
something?
Yeah, some plastic figures.
Sure.
But they're, fully cloth figures.
And two different sizes,
so
too.
on the 8-inch size, they've got 3 of the 4 members. They have no demon. And I'm not going to buy 3 out of 4 figures.
Right. Because then, either you have 3 out of 4 and you're missing a gene, or you have to track down this random gene figure from a line you didn't even know existed, so good luck.
They also had a second line of Kiss figures, same scale, but different outfits. This guy's stopping?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Eventually.
This giant disposal truck was barreling down on a side road, and it did not look like they were going to stop. Anyway, they had a different series of Kiss figures that same size, and they had a Gene, but I'm like, no, he's not in the suit. But then they had these massive, how tall would you think they are?
10 inches at least, maybe 12.
I think they're bigger than that.
Really? Wow, okay.
14 feet is what I think it was.
They're life size. It's a life size Paul Stanley.
Of Paul Stanley.
48 inches tall.
And Gene Simmons. And the detail is way better. Like in the small version, you can't see the pinstripes in his suit, and they had a different tie, but on the large version, it's the right tie.
Yeah, the larger you can make the figure, the easier it is for them to execute on fabric.
Yeah.
Because the seams aren't as gigantic, you can get finer detail in the stitching.
And Paul has always been my favorite member of Kiss, so I bought the large Paul Stanley figure. His shoes are off in the package. It's hilarious. You got to put his shoes on him.
Great. Was he getting on a plane?
Yeah, exactly. So I have those in the first 5 minutes of us being there.
Right. It's I don't know if we mentioned this on the last part of this podcast. Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. We've been watching a lot of the Egon Page, if you will, toy vlog.
Toys by Julian. Posed by Page.
Posed by Page? Okay. But we had been watching that on a pretty regular basis in our wrestling consumption alongside, the Danhausen vlog and the Sammy Guevara vlog and being the Elite.
ETE.
And AEW Dark and AEW Dark Elevation. So it had
our YouTube watching.
Yeah.
Our YouTube AEW.
Yeah.
As
I think
Jason.
social media vampire Ben Hur Caligulus had turned us on to the Ethan Page toy vlog, and we had the first one I think we'd watched was the best one we'd probably ever seen, where they went to some shop in Pittsburgh or something.
Yeah, Pittsburgh.
And it was an amazing lineup of guests. It was Anthony Bowens and
Alex Abrahantes, Smart Mark Sterling.
Yeah, just on Evil Luna
Dante
maybe.
Martin.
Oh, Alex Reynolds, I think. I don't think it was Evil Luna. It was Alex Reynolds. But it was all guys that were really into toy buying, and so they weren't just I'm here to get a bouncy ball, which is hilarious. But they were genuinely looking for things, and they were knowledgeable about their fandoms, and they had specific stories about what they had in the past and what they're looking for now. It was great. The whole thing was just a blast, and so we started watching them on a regular basis. Some episodes better than others, but generally kind of fun. And so that led Patrick to find Times Past toys. I think what was the shop on
Times Past?
Times Past on Armand?
Just on Ashland, a few blocks south of North.
Yeah, so it had
come close to us, really.
So I don't remember why, but it had come up we should go to Kokomo Toys again at some point in the future, because it's been a few years. and our
The last time
collections
we were
have
here, there was
changed.
not a pandemic.
Yeah, like our collecting habits have changed drastically and expanded terribly in the last few years. So a trip to Kokomo Toys is now looking at different things and looking for different things. So
I was talking to your mom earlier,
yeah,
and I told her where we were,
yeah.
and she said the difference between boys and men is that
Men have more
expensive toys. You got that too?
No, she said that for a long time.
Oh, okay.
That's a my momism.
Okay, that was my first time. Men have more expensive toys.
Yes. That was a neat hill.
Yeah, look how it jumps from 40 to 55 and then back to 40 so quickly.
Crazy. But so anyway, like one of the things about the Ethan Page toy vlog is you're in for a good episode when someone walks in the door and immediately finds something. Like that was the last episode they did. Nyla Rose was on it for the first time, and the second she walks in, she's like, "Oh, this," and she's got like an armload of stuff. And she didn't necessarily buy everything, but that's what you want to see in these sort of experiences is immediately finding like, well, I'm getting at least this. And so Patrick did that, and then I got to the end of the first aisle and found what I think, and we'll check back in on this in the next episode, what I think is a Gwenpool pop I didn't have already, which is the unmasked Gwenpool, who is an exclusive somewhere. I don't remember where.
That's one of the dumbest things about us doing that is we each came across things like, do we have this?
Yeah.
Do you already own this?
I didn't even think to take a picture of like what Gwenpool pops I had so I could double check, because I have like 3 and they're all just slight variations. It's not like venomized Gwenpool or like evil Gwenpool from the future. It's just like, here's one where she's in the mask but she's got a gun, here's one where she's in the mask but she's got a sword, here's one where she's in the mask but she's got a selfie stick.
Yeah.
And then here's one where she's not masked but she's got like a selfie stick or a sword. They're just slight variations, so I don't remember if I've got this one or not.
So before we get to the next podcast, if you're in the store and you see a Gwenpool pop, you know where it came from.
Yeah, know that Dal bought that for $8 at Kokomo Toys and is now trying to get rid of it. But it was
$8, by the way, is not that far off what we pay wholesale.
Right, which is why I felt comfortable like buying it just in case, because it's like, I don't know. Worst case scenario, I traveled 3 hours and wasted $8. That's not so bad.
It is less than considerably less than $1 away from what our wholesale is.
Yeah.
From, our multiple pop distributors.
For sure, yeah. $8 is an insane price. I don't know how they're doing it, especially because they have pops for everything, and like. They have vintage stuff, like, I guess vintage is weird to say for pops,
Older pops.
But they have like scarcer ones or more sought after ones. So they have ones that are like hundreds of dollars. They had like a Red Skull one that was ridiculously expensive, and I did not even want to point it out to you.
I was going to say, I don't remember you mentioning that.
Yeah, I didn't, because you would not want it, and you would not want to spend that much on it.
Well, I mean, I definitely wouldn't have. I found...
Also, he's a Nazi.
True. There was this Captain America figure that was in the glass case that I couldn't see the price of. And I didn't know what it was, but it was definitely from the 70s. And it said, like the packaging said, motorized, but needs no batteries.
I guess it's just a wind-up toy then? Like if the gears are still good.
So I needed to ask what it was. They came out and then didn't have the keys, but what I didn't realize was that I thought it was a box, but it was a box with a whole flap. And it had the price right on the flap.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a decent price, but figures from the 70s, and this was 100% complete, fully working. It just looks like a toy from the 70s, and I'm not
sure.
that much of a... Like, and it's not like, oh, I had that as a kid and I miss it. No, I didn't know what it was.
Right. And you don't necessarily anymore need, like, every cap thing you come across.
Right.
Like,
I've divested
now.
myself of a lot of cap things.
There's too much cap things.
There are.
God help the person who was a Cap fan in, like, the 90s, and then, the Captain America movie hits in 2010 or whatever, and it's like, Jesus, you are going to be buying Cap stuff weekly for the rest of your life.
They had a very nice, very expensive...
Very evil.
Captain America movie figure from... Maybe Sideshow Jason?
I think it was Hot Toys. I think,
okay.
Looking back on it, I think it was Hot Toys.
Okay, and it was like $260.
Yeah, it was a cap from Avengers. The Avengers Avengers movie.
And I said to Dal, I'm like, Dal, I need you to come over here for a second. I need you to talk me out of this. And you said, talk you out of it?
Yeah.
As if that was unheard of. Like, No, you need to go the other way.
Yeah. I mean, looking back on it, I don't think the Avengers movie costume is the best Cap costume.
No, it's not. It was just a nice figure.
It was. It was well done. I know a friend of ours has a lot of Hot Toys figures, and I think we've talked to him about it before, and I don't think he's a huge fan of them.
Yeah.
They're kind of difficult to deal with. And, I mean, if you're someone who already is not a huge fan of, like, the Mezco 112.
Yeah.
I mean, this is twice that size.
Yeah, I had multiple Mezco 112s that I got rid of for Captain America.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that the entirety of our purchases, mine, Dal's, and we bought some, a few gifts, were less than that toy to get was. So we didn't spend that much.
No. I quickly found that Gwenpool pop.
Yeah.
So that was in my hand, and I was looking around, and I saw something. I'm like, probably this, but I want to keep looking. I ended up looking in the Marvel Legends toy aisle, and this is sort of the knock against Kokomo toys. It's very hard to find stuff. Mostly the things that I bought from them are things where it's like the top thing in a pile, because I don't feel like digging through piles.
Wow, look at this guy.
Whoa. Bold.
Yeah. We're doing 55 on a 55, and the dude just shoots passes on the left lane, not really, but there's a car right in front of us, so we can't go anywhere.
Went into oncoming traffic to go around somebody.
Yep. And it started raining, but I'm sure they can hear that.
Yeah. So I was in the Marvel Legends aisle, and again, not really looking for anything specific. It was just like, if there's a figure here used, not too expensive, that's a character I really like, I'll probably grab it. And on the top of a peg, like, 8 figures deep, but the first couple were 2 long shot figures.
Dude, again, not even signaling. Now I just blew past the guy in front of us.
2 long shot figures, like classic Art Adams long shot.
I reached my exercise goal right now.
You did it.
Sitting here driving in the car, I reached my exercise goal.
You're running your feet like Fred Flintstone, right?
That's true. That's how the car is moving.
So they had 2 long shot figures, one on top of the other, and I looked at the 2. I'm like, oh, this one has all of the accessories, I think, and this one doesn't. And it was like $10.
Indiana smells bad.
It does. I was wondering where that was coming from.
Yeah, same question.
Okay. Wow. Farm life.
We literally thought it was the other one.
Yeah, I'm looking at you because if you start laughing, I know it was you.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I grabbed a long shot figure for $10 because I had huge fond memories of the long shot graphic novel that I had gotten.
That's kind of the guy that got you into comics, almost.
Maybe. I mean, I remember
that era.
Yeah, there was a long shot graphic novel. Like, this is back in the days where there were not graphic novels, but Marvel had, for some reason, collected the Art Adams
and
Nascenti, whoever else, Bob Wycheck maybe, I don't know. Long shot miniseries. So that was one that I had as a kid, and I loved it. I'm a big long shot guy, mostly because I'm a big Art Adams guy. And when Art Adams would do like an annual or something for the X-Men, long shot was probably going to be in it. So it became this like Pavlovian thing almost of like connecting long shot with what I love about comic superhero art. So I got a long shot. I had the Gwenpool. You were still looking around at that point? I was mostly just going up and down aisles seeing what they had.
So I was carrying that giant Paul Stanley and the Phantom. Mm-hmm. And one of the Kokomo guys came up to me and said, "Do you want me to put this behind the counter for you?" Like we do.
Yeah.
And I was working my way to the counter to ask that, but I just hadn't gotten that far. So I guess the store is laid out like this. This is the Star Wars aisle, so I can skip it.
Right.
This is the G.I. Joe aisle, the Transformers aisle, stuff like that. And then a lot of vintage stuff in cases and et cetera, et cetera. And I wound up picking up several pop vinyls, more than I expected to. I got a comic book Taskmaster that was a Walgreens exclusive I'd never seen. And then there was a different comic book Taskmaster in the glass cases, but he had like Black Shadow or something, I think. Mm-hmm. But so I got that. I also got I can't remember. Hold on. The pop vinyls I got were Taskmaster.
Yes. Was there one that you got out of the case?
Well, I was trying to do before we got to the case.
Okay.
Who else did I get? God. So bad at buying toys.
Yeah. Well, it's tough because we got some not for us.
Yeah, and we won't mention. We don't want
Right,
to
of
make anybody
course,
jealous. So
of
we
course.
got a couple of pop vinyls for other people. But also, in the glass case, I picked up a Bucky Barnes cap. You know, the Alex Ross costume cap?
Oh, the Puerto Rican flag one.
Yeah. They also had a really great classic Spider-Woman suit and classic Ms. Marvel suit.
Yeah, Carol Danvers, Ms. Marvel.
Yeah. Because I have a Kamala Khan.
Right.
But anyway, those were nice, but those were, I think, $20 and $25, and that was more than I want. No, it was $35 and $25.
Yeah.
Ms. Marvel's $35, Spider-Woman was $25, and that's more than I wanted to do.
There were some very fun pops in those cases, some that I'd never heard of or seen before. A lot of them were like store exclusives or like rare ones from conventions that I just were never on my radar. I am pointedly not a pop collector.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a pop collector. That is a road I do not plan to go on.
I respect anyone who chooses not to get pops.
And so, like, basically my kind of limit for myself was like $8 to $10. So these ones in the cases that are like 15 and up, I can't do it. I cannot pull the trigger on those. I don't, like, you break that seal and it's bad. It gets real bad. That's the line I got to draw for myself. For the longest time it was, I don't buy pops, I only get them as gifts.
Yeah.
But then, I found Gwenpools, and it was like, well, shit, I gotta get a Gwenpool. Like, and then there were more Gwenpools, and it's like, well, it's easy to collect Gwenpool stuff, because there's not a lot of it.
Yeah, so I almost bought the Laura Kinney Infinity Warps
Weapon
figure.
Hex.
Weapon Hex, and they had a bunch of her.
Yeah, I same way.
Found her.
I did. I'm like, maybe I should, but then it's like, I don't just get all of the Laura Kinney ones, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, there aren't all those. There's been one so far.
Yeah.
This
Did they
is
never
two.
do an X-23? I guess
I don't
not.
think so.
I feel like they must have somewhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't
So
want to
I
look
toyed
because
with
I'm going to
that.
find it and it's going to be like $60.
For the life of me, I cannot remember the other $8 pop I pulled off the shelf for myself.
Weird.
Just can't remember at all. And now I'm starting to think I can't remember anything else. I think that was it.
It might have been
I
it.
think I just got the Phantom, the Giant Paul Stanley, and 3 pops.
I ended up doing one other thing, which was the Kamen Rider. They only had 2 Kamen Rider things that I saw. They had a Kamen Rider Vulcan, the shooting wolf form, from Kamen Rider 01, which is a show I haven't watched yet, and it was a statue. And I don't really get the statues, and 2 is from a show I haven't watched yet, so it was just like, I don't want to get this just to get it. The other thing I saw, though, was from Kamen Rider Decade. They had a role-play toy, the DN driver, his gun/henshin device, and that was $70, which, I mean, for a thing that came out, I don't know if they reissued it. They might have, so it might have been a reissue, but $70 for like a Japanese role-play toy of that size, not bad. So I grabbed that. I don't know if it even works. I hope it does. The box seemed fairly new, so I assume it's unopened. I don't know. But that I like that. I like Kamen Rider DN a whole lot, and I like Kamen Rider Decade as a show a whole lot. So it was definitely like, this wasn't just like some pity purchase. This was like, no, I actually do think this is cool. I'm going to get this. So that was what my purchases were. I think that was all of them.
Yeah, I think so too. Like, and they gave us a box. It's hilarious to see the guys doing all this stuff on scratch paper. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna make this one a 4. And I go, oh, thanks so much.
Yeah, we thought he was giving us a deal.
But what he meant was, I was adding up the $8
Yeah.
pops, and there was another one, so instead of 3, there's 4.
Right.
So then he'd explain that. We're like, oops, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, we were fine paying the sticker price. It wasn't a big
Yeah.
deal, but it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Hey, do you want to pull up your phone and get some navigation going? Because we should be real close time-wise to finding
sure.
65. I just looked at the
Yeah.
how long we've been talking, and it's right around that time. Because
Yeah.
normally we thought we'd be done by now, but we're still talking a little bit more.
We are.
But in the meantime, so Kokomo Toys, super fun. This is a trip we will repeat again in a couple years, I'm sure.
Yeah, I like the idea. I mean, one of the things I mentioned to you afterwards, we were having lunch, and originally the idea was to go when it was nicer out, like in the springtime. And it just, for me, it lined up in a way where I'm like, let's do it on the anniversary, just because we had the day off and let's get out of town. But
it's a real nice downtown area.
Yeah.
You know, just like a vintage little main street. You can ignore all the F. Biden flags and things like that. But then
we're coming up on it.
Okay. And then we popped over to Comics Cube like we did before. It's the comic store like 2 doors down.
Literally 2 doors down.
Basically, if you want to know what we thought of that store, you can just go back and listen to the old episode.
It has not changed.
Because it hasn't changed at all.
Oh, it might be the same guy.
It's the exact same. No, it 100% is the same guy.
Which is cool. I mean, it's been a few years. I mean people come in at Challengers.
The same guy, yeah.
The same guys for 14 years.
Very outgoing, very friendly, very talkative.
Yes.
Too talkative for my taste, but
yeah, I don't want to complain, but it's a weird thing of I don't want to talk a lot when I go into shops. I mean, if someone's there to like answer questions or something, or if I've got something I want to ask them, like I want them to be, outgoing and upbeat about it.
But if somebody's walking around the store doing stuff, looking at things, or on their phone, you don't just yell across the store, so what else are you into? We know comic books. What else are you into?
Because then it's like, now I'm on. Now I have to be like cordial and upbeat. It's like I'm just. And I was,
at the same time, trying to answer Molly Jane texts.
Right, so I had to jump in because Patrick definitely could not deal with this.
I outright said, I'm like, hey man, I'm on my phone, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I was also talking with a friend who's a comics professional who was asking us about a signing for a different comic professional, someone we never had before, in April, so that may be a thing.
Maybe.
I have to talk to them and find out what the deal is.
But Comics Cubed, worth stopping into if you're at Kokomo Toys. It's weird to not go to a comic shop that's only a couple doors down from a toy store that you're at, which is why we stopped in, even though we weren't obviously looking for anything, and we'd been there before, but it's like, it's a 10-minute stop, basically.
Yeah. And then we went to lunch at a really nice Irish pub. I can't remember what it was called. I'm going to call it Cool McDougal's.
Cook McDougal's.
I was off at one
as we
letter.
were driving away from the downtown area of Kokomo, Indiana. You said, I'm never going to remember that name.
And I didn't.
And you didn't. You really didn't.
But I was off at one letter. It was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, you did good.
Cook McDougal's. Really nice decor, very Irish. Good food.
Yeah, I had a good time at that place, and it's especially compared to like Chicago restaurant and diner prices, pretty cheap. Got 2 good meals for a very low price.
Yeah.
I like that kind of downtown area vibe. Both Patrick and I kind of started our retail comics careers in Downers Grove, Illinois. And Downers Grove, the downtown area is very similar to that. It's a little bit more of a straight line than like a square, but there's a real charm to just these kind of narrow streets and a bunch of small businesses and like a couple restaurants, and the restaurants are like pubs or diners or sports bars or whatever, big places that serve decent food for decent prices, and it's easy to just drop in whenever you want.
Welcome to Lafayette, Indiana. Ooh, look, a Meyer.
A Meyer.
So exotic.
Yeah, right. I keep looking like, is there a comic shop? But yeah, it's I like that vibe a whole lot. It's tough to be a comic shop kind of making a living there because your clientele is so limited, and
I don't know which one we want though.
And frankly,
does one say to Chicago? That'd be great. It does. It's where this giant line of cars is.
Yes. Good luck getting in here. Yeah. Maybe they'll let you in. Maybe.
This guy will. He has no choice.
Oh, he's a sweetheart. But it's a more relaxed vibe. I like city living, but man, it's nice to spend a little bit of time in like, more suburban and rural areas because it's just a different pace. And it just, like I was saying to Patrick when we were at Cook McDougal's, an Irish pub.
You sure it's not Cool McDougal's? You're in this restaurant and everything's so much more spread out than it would be in Chicago. Chicago, the real estate is so expensive that if you have a diner, if you have a restaurant of any kind, tables are going to be much closer together, and there's probably going to be more people in there when you're in there. And this was the opposite of that. It's just like spacious and you're just there. And yeah, it was very nice to visit that and revisit that kind of experience after so many years of living in the city and a different pace, a different atmosphere. Then as we were leaving, Patrick had decided to check and see if there was a comic shop that we could go to. Another comic shop? There's got to be more in the area or something close on the way home or what have you.
Yeah, something.
And there was. It was Paradigm Comics. They were...
Paradigm Comics and Cafe, I think it was called.
Was it?
Like
Okay. They were only a mile and a half away. And looked at the website, open till 8 p.m. Great. It's in such a weird suburban, rural part of the area that we missed it.
Yeah, it's like it's basically like an industrial park almost, like attached to a warehouse.
Yeah. And to get there, we would have had it looked like the navigation was taking us onto the train tracks.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got there just fine to find out they were closed.
Yeah.
A bunch of FedEx notices on the door.
Yep.
So they had a phone number. We called the number. It was a cell phone. We just got the number 714 is unavailable. Please leave a message. So we didn't. It was like, okay, it's not even hooked to store hours or anything.
Right.
So we left.
How important is it to have a phone number that actually connects to an answer machine?
Yeah, at least a machine or something.
I
Yeah.
mean, we didn't have that for last week.
Right. It's a nice little wrap all the way around.
Yep. Phones.
So while we are not home yet, we are on our way home.
Yes, back to Chicago.
It's still our
Back to the
14th
store.
anniversary. Yeah, we have to go right back to the store to make sure all the settings are connected.
Could not duck it.
And see if we can't empty the
Tried to
water.
get out of town so we didn't have to do any store stuff
Yeah.
on the day of the 14th anniversary. Still had to do store stuff remotely. Still have to go to the store.
back. Yay.
Hooray.
That is the most Challengers thing.
Yep.
Trying to take a moment to relax and not think about the store. We think about the store way more than
A
normal.
whole bunch. We recorded this podcast.
Yeah, but how great was it that Molly Jane was able to handle everything on her end?
Yeah, for sure.
She's been great. Everybody we have with us is great now.
Yep, good crew.
Andrew's doing good work on TikTok. Lizzie and I just went and saw Russell Howard over the weekend, and it was excellent. Donovan's been filling in.
Yep.
Gina and I are rocking through Fridays. And, of course, Samantha is amazing. And I already said Andrew, so we're good. That's,
I think it's everybody.
I do want to mention, I don't know, I think you got an email about this, but you didn't get all the messages. Last Friday, I recorded 3 separate segments for the podcast.
Okay.
I did checking in with the Challenger, with
Yep.
Donovan, the actual recording,
Uh-huh.
and then you and I spent some time afterwards trying to get the Manscaped ad that we're going to be using regularly,
Yeah.
hone it down and get a usable part of that. So there are 3 separate things. So when I uploaded to Patreon, I accidentally just uploaded the 5 minutes of us trying to do the Manscaped ad.
I did get that email, yes.
Yeah. So luckily the Springhams caught it, and Mitchell Davies caught it as well and let me know. You and I were out celebrating DWJ's birthday last Saturday, so I didn't get back to it right away, but I took it down and put the right one up.
Yeah.
But hilariously, people just got like a 4 or 5 minute rant of you and I trying to...
Oh, is it the unedited one?
It's the unedited, yeah, where we kept screwing up and starting over. That one up with no context.
Great. Perfect.
And yeah. Also...
That's the content people want.
Right? Mitchell has pointed out to me the sheer number of Manscaped ads that appear in his Facebook feed now.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
All
Sorry,
right.
everybody.
All right.
But we still believe in them.
True. Just make sure that when you see those ads, you use the code Challengers.
For 20% off.
The S at the end is for savings.
And while we believe in them, we appreciate you believing in us for 14 years.
14 whole years.
And more. And
more
even
to
though
come.
we've been in a car and there's trucks all around us and it was raining and it may be hard to hear, thanks for listening.
And keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.